Testing mic check 1 2, testing my mic and my sound 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Testing mic check 1 2, testing my mic and my sound 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Testing mic check 1 2, testing mic. Still gotta do a mic check because I don't have my setup the way I would like it completely, but I'm getting there. I'm working on my office first, then I think I'm gonna do the podcast room because it's easier, it's more decorative. So I'm just going to make sure my screen is up so I can get the backdrop of all of my stuff, my reels and things that I'm working on, going through. Probably put some flowers in and a table for my candles so I can kind of set the mood. I just need, it's kind of like meditation talking, if you will, but I'm having a conversation about my truths and, my healing processes and things that come from my book. So I have to I have to set the mood for that. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I am about to record, go into my podcast. So let me get this right. Okay. Alrighty, what's going on, everybody? It's your girl Nia with the One Purpose Magazine podcast. Conversations that's coming out of my book, As Thyself by Nia, which is a very important part of my publishing company, Jones Publishing and Enterprises, LLC. We are currently headquartered, if you will, in Munster, Indiana. It's about 30-45 minutes out of Chicago. I know that I used to do a lot of talking about being in Chicago. If you listen to my previous shows, I mentioned Chi-Town a lot. But since the pandemic, some things have changed, and that's okay. But I'm still doing the same work with the same mission. I just have broadened what I believe will be my audience. And so everything I'm doing is kind of taking on a Midwest approach and not just a Chicago-focused approach. But anyway, that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about love messaging, self-love messaging, healing, internal healing through my book, As Thyself by Nia, right? So As Thyself by Nia is a tool that I have used to express and share how I've gone through my self-love journey. And I hear people talk about self-love as a journey all the time. And it is a lot of things that we do along the journey that we have to undo from things that we learned before we made a decision to start getting back to loving ourselves the way that we should, right? And so I know that some people who don't understand the concept may look at that as like a selfish thing and look at it as, we should be partnering with one another. We should be figuring out how to have relationships. We're not doing too good at that. We're not doing too good at the whole relationship thing. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be working on it. Definitely should be working on it. But there's some work that we have to do internally, I believe, to be successful in partnering and getting to the true meaning of what relationship is about, and then marriage. Marriage is just like at the top of the chain for me and for relationships. It's so many steps that I feel like that you have to go through with yourself and with another person to get to the point where you become one with somebody. Oh my God. We can barely be one with ourselves. People are so conflicted internally with themselves. Then to join with somebody else to become one. Wow. That's deep. That's deep. And so that brings me to my topic. My topic is, I think, premarital classes taught in churches should be taught to single people before they even find someone that they think they want to marry. I think that they should be in premarital classes probably, let's say like 19, 20 years old. That's before you even think about it, because I think that if you take those classes at that age, 19, 20, that it gives you something to grow from. Because, when you're in that age, you start thinking about, I want to be with somebody. I don't want to be alone. I want to have a relationship and things like that. So I think when you have that foundation of what a marriage should be, then you won't be looking at people to fill voids. You may look in other directions to fill voids, but when you have the foundation of what something should be, you won't try to manipulate it into being something else. When you don't know, it's like clay. You try to form whatever it is you think it should be. And I'm just talking right into my mic like it can't hear me, but it can definitely hear me. So I don't care what anyone says. Marriage is an institution for God. I don't understand why so many reckless people that live without boundaries want it. Just do you. I just feel like you just do you. That doesn't require marriage. Marriage is selfless work for the kingdom of God. If people took premarital classes like those taught in the church, they'd understand the point of marriage and won't desire something they cannot live up to in the first place. I wanted marriage to be in right standing. I want it to be in right standing before God, but even deeper than that. I had to really look deeper than that. Like, what was really my point in wanting a marriage? And this is the truth. Now, I'm being totally 100. When I was growing up, I was not a little girl. I didn't think about, I didn't fantasize about marriage and having a husband and having kids. I wanted kids, but I never fantasized or romanticized the idea of a husband. And I think it's because I just saw so much struggle in relationships across the board, everywhere, that I just was like, I don't want the drama. I don't want the struggle. I wanted it to be, if I had a relationship, I wanted it to be smooth sailing, because I always wanted to focus on other things. I didn't want to focus on the milestones that come with building a union. And that's just the truth. So when I got older and began going to church, I was just like, well, I really should work on being in right standing. So the way to be in right standing is to have a husband. So I wanted marriage to be in right standing, but no man, for me, has ever really had honestly, this is like the truth. No man has ever really had a chance at conquering my heart and desiring and getting me to desire authentic marriage, like marriage how God sees it. No man. I've been engaged. I've had men who desire to marry me. I feel like I've been fortunate to really know what it feels like to have a man really want me. Some girls, they chase after men and they have to be the ones who force the idea of marriage and things on men. And I just feel like I have not had to do that. I've had men move, like clear houses and try to move me in to their house. And it's like, no, I don't want that, sir. It's crazy. But that's another time, another place. So I do feel like from a woman's perspective, from a woman's perspective, when we're talking about marriage, and I know there's a lot of perspectives out there, I feel like in order for me to really be in tune with a man and become one with a man, I have to respect him. I feel like from a woman, we need love. We need to feel loved. We need to know that you love us to a degree of unconditional love. And so that's important. And I feel like, I have gotten that, fortunately. But on my end as a woman, I have to say respect has to be at the foundation of how I feel about that man. If I cannot say that I fully respect you, admire you, look up to you, can learn from you, like I can look at him and be like, wow, that is like next to, not God, but next to the next best thing. That man is like, I respect him. He's godly. He is made in the image of God. He is really my protector, and I respect him. He is the overseer. He is all of these things that, and it doesn't have anything to do with how much money he can make or, all of that stuff. It just has to do with how he carries himself, how he sees himself as a king. That level of the level of respect that I have for him it can't be something I cultivate. What I say I think a king is. It has to be something, it has to be his disposition and something that he gives off to bring me into his kingship and understanding who he is, to where I admire him and see him as that and look up to him. Like, I have to feel that. And I have not had that. I've come very close, but I have not had that from a man. And so when I get into relationships, I feel like because that respect isn't there, that I do not really give them all of what I should be giving them. And I learned this when I was taking premarital classes. This class really brought me to a place of understanding who I am and what I bring to a table. We create the table, but I bring all of my stuff to the table. He bring all his stuff to the table. We sort it out. Not I don't know what y'all be talking about nowadays. I don't know. I can't even get caught up in that. But I had to really begin to dissect how I see relationships and what is the foundation of a marriage for me. And when I was in that class, I really started to see that for me, marriage is something that is built on two things: love and respect. The man loves the woman respects the man. And when I was in this class, I had to really begin to think about, how am I showing the men that I involve myself with that I can give them respect fully? And how my respect for men was shaped was through my grandfather. Like, I looked up to my granddad. My granddad, I saw him do a lot for me. He protected us. He provided for us. He always made sure that we was okay. He was respected in the community and in the neighborhood. He loved his girls. He protected his girls. He did anything for him. If they were with a knucklehead that didn't do what they were supposed to do, he came in and was like, no, you don't treat my girls like this. I'll take care of it. He was the caretaker of, or the provider. He was the overseer. He was the arm stretched over the family to bring them in and protect them. That's what he was. And so that's what shaped my vision of a man. And I think that every girl have to have something that shapes her vision of what a man is. And a lot of girls, I don't think, have that. I did. And unfortunately, the bar was set high for me. My grandfather had set the bar very high for me. And the men that I found myself gravitating towards, they had a resemblance of that, but not so much. And I don't know if they could have ever grown into it, but I mean, it just never worked out for me. And I was never able to come to a place where I said, I'm going to be able to respect that man enough to respect his authority, to respect his decision, to respect him just as a man. I can give him respect as a human being, but someone who has authority over my life and make decisions over my life, I could never get to that place with any of them. So I learned this by taking that class, and I learned this by understanding biblically, what the institution of marriage was designed for, the kingdom of God, not for self-seeking pleasures, not for ego, to say that, because people don't like to not be wanted, or there's a lot of men out here that put their manhood in being able to say a woman wants them, or that they have a wife, and stuff like that. None of that stuff, because we are supposed to be building together and building the kingdom and expanding the kingdom of God here on earth. And that's the whole point. Whether you like it or not, that's the point. So anyway, that is my spiel on relationships and what I think that we can do to help us get better at marriage and relationships. So I will be back next week with a little bit of conversations, and we can talk more as this podcast continues to grow. So until next time, I'll holler at you. Peace.